Hello, welcome to Axiom Flux News. With me, PJ, on the panel with myself. Today's date's the 1st of April 2015. I've got just over a handful of articles to put through tonight, so covering over what's gone off today. The first article I've got is the BICOM CEO resigns, scrutiny on pro-Israel lobbies, political and media clout. If you end Hamas terror, peace for the people of Israel and Gaza. So surely there's no anti-Semitism going off in that image. The chief executive of British Israeli Communications and Research Centre, the BICOM, is to step down after 3 years at the helm of the controversial lobby group. His name's Dermot Keogh. He said he felt it was time to move on after leading the advocacy group through 2 conflicts in Gaza and 2 general elections in Israel. Keogh's tenure culminated in a We Believe in Israel conference held in London on March the 22nd, which attracted 1,500 delegates, including Britain's Chief Rabbi and Government Whip Michael Gove MP. While Keogh's successor is unknown, the BICOM remains a contentious organisation, which critics accuse of being a sophisticated pro-Israel lobby group seeking to cultivate elite opinion in the UK. You'll show this who this guy is from RT. I've got a little video clip here. 2 minutes. Wait a minute. I do believe we've got sound. There we go. Don't seem to have any sound on this one. One last try.
A lobbying group has the answer. Introducing BICOM. You might remember the name from WikiLeaks back in 2011. The UK-based Israeli Communications and Research Centre, or propaganda machine, was established back in 2001 during the Second Intifada, when an estimated 3,000 Palestinians were killed. BICOM infiltrates UK politics. One of BICOM's chief spin doctors, Ruth Smeeth, has now been selected as Ed Miliband's candidate for the safe seat of Stoke-on-Trent North and Kidsgrove. Nothing on earth gives away that she was indirectly paid by BICOM, founded by multi-billionaire Poju Sabladovics, who is on the record for thinking BICOM will help people forgive Israel for so-called difficulties and mistakes. WikiLeaks revealed that information about BICOM's ties with the British media was important enough to be counted as intelligence that could be sold to big multinational companies. The intelligence included a misdirected email from BICOM CEO detailing the feeding of propaganda to the BBC, the Financial Times, and Sky News. The propaganda apparently ensured that the media take an objectively favorable opinion of Israel. A BBC reporter was allegedly even shown around by a BICOM representative during a visit to the occupied Palestinian territories. Ruth Smeeth is not the only member of the Labour Party associated with BICOM. Its former CEO is Lorna Fitzsimons, who was actually elected a Labour MP when the country was led by Gordon Brown and Tony Blair.
There you go, that's the end of that one. So Keogh joined BICOM in 2011 and became head of the advocacy group the following year. Speaking to the Jewish Chronicle, Keogh said, after 2 Gaza conflicts, 2 general elections in Israel, and Britain's biggest ever pro-Israel conference, now is the time for someone new to take the organisation forward. He added that while the challenges aren't getting any easier in Israel advocacy, I'm confident BICOM will continue to meet them. Keogh will start a new job as External Affairs Director of the Health and Social Care Information Centre, a government body which analyses health data. So no doubt he's going to get his fingers stuck in to something new. And I'm going to be keeping a very, very close eye on him. Just a vibe, let's call it a vibe. His departure renews question over BICOM, particularly concerning the extent of its influence in British media and its connections to UK politics. Drawing on research by Spinwatch, an editorial collective of journalists and academics, in addition to other sources, RT seeks to provide a background on BICOM's shady dealings with the British establishment. According to a Spinwatch study by UK-based academics and journalists, BICOM owes its existence to the Israeli arms trade. The report, titled The Britain-Israel Communications and Research Centre, Giving Peace a Chance question, states that BICOM's principal donor is Poju Zabludowicz, the son of Finnish arms magnate Shlomo Zabludowicz, a Jewish Pole who narrowly escaped death while interned at Auschwitz. Shlomo made his fortune selling weapons to repressive regimes around the world. In the 1980s, his son diversified the business into property. BICOM itself was out of a war much closer to Israel, the Second Intifada. Days following the mass uprising of Palestinians against Israeli occupation in 2000, leading UK businessmen raised £250,000 for the creation of a pro-Israel lobby group. Poju was the first major donor. Infiltrating the political elite. While BICOM initially sought to influence public opinion, it later changed its strategy to insulate elites from what it sees as the negative opinions about Israel, according to the Spinwatch report. BICOM donors are also directly support sympathetic figures in the main political parties. As the video has just explained, pretty much all this part. Relations with the mainstream media. The lobbyist initially adopted a pressure group style approach to public relations, encouraging the Jewish community to write letters of complaint to media outlets which portray Israel in a negative light. I'm just handpicking here from what the video didn't really cover. Former Labour MP for Rochdale, Fitzsimons became chief executive of BICOM after losing her seat in 2005 election. So as you can see, WikiLeaks putting stuff out, so just keep your eye on that one if you think it's interesting to you. The next one is from your Newswire, and it's thousands evacuated in central London as underground fire breaks out. So this is today, this 6 hours ago this uploaded.
Get out of this place, right? Explode the build up. Oh, I bet it's not raining. Is it raining or is that something else?
Danny, look.
Oh, fuck hell. Mate, I'm not going to die in a minute.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Should we,
Is it me or is it raining?
no, it's raining, yeah.
Bloody umbrellas in the thing.
Should we just spin round to Philomeno's? We're not getting back to the office today, mate.
Not at all. That's why I bought my laptop.
That's fucking...
You've got to redo my mate.
It's pretty crazy.
Video now,
That drain's alright for now.
yeah.
So people and buildings have been evacuated as a huge fire broke out under a busy central London street in central London. Smoke was seen coming out of inspection covers and covering the pavement. London Fire Brigade has called it a major incident according to reports. It appears wiring cables under the pavement in Kingsway, Holborn had caught. The fire is under the Civil Aviation Authority, which has been evacuated along with part of the London School of Economics. London Fire Brigade was first notified of a fire when smoke was seen coming out of an inspection cover of the pavement. The spokesman said, "Police have declared a major incident and closed Kingsway at both ends. Motorists are being advised to avoid the area. 6 fire engines and 35 firefighters and officers are at the scene. Crews are waiting for utility companies to disconnect the power supplies before tackling the blaze." So there's an image there with a bit more thicker black smoke in Holborn. Some more there. Seeing that one, so I'll keep you updated. Should be some more information coming out on this. If not, then I'll let you know as soon as it does come through. So the next one is fire blazes on oil platform in Gulf of Mexico. There's been 4 dead, multiple injuries reported. So just like the previous oil spills, this is just another one, I reckon. But we'll not prejudge just yet. We'll at least watch this. Let's have a look what they got for us.
4 people are now confirmed to have died after an explosion struck an oil platform in the Gulf of Mexico. These are the latest pictures. Up to 45 people have been hurt, while nearly 300 workers have been evacuated to safety. The rig's operated by the Mexican state energy firm Pemex, which says on Twitter that the fire broke out overnight. RT contacted the company by phone, but it's refusing to provide any further information. Well, RT's Alexei Yarashevsky joins me now to discuss this matter further. Alexei, good to see you there. So Pemex might not really be familiar to too many viewers. Tell us about the company.
Well, Pemex can definitely be described as Mexico's oil and gas giant. It is the biggest company there, operated by the government since 1938. It produces more than 3.6 million barrels of oil per day and is ranked 8th largest oil company in the world. Now, if we talk about the company's record in terms of accidents and different calamities which have happened to it over the past years, the biggest one happened in 1984 when an explosion at an LNG facility belonging to Pemex almost completely devastated a nearby town of San Juanico, and more than 600 people were killed. The most recent accident happened in 2012 near the town of Reynosa in Mexico, in mainland Mexico, not in the Gulf, not in the on the water. Also, 26 people were killed during an explosion at a gas facility belonging to Pemex. We are still in the very early stages of this particular incident, and we're getting information in bits and pieces. But we do know, as you've said, 45 people have been confirmed as injured. 4 have apparently died. But we are looking to see whether this accident could be as drastic as the previous accidents involving the Pemex company. We'll, of course, keep our viewers updated with all the latest details as we get them.
Alexei, thank you very much for the update. He's Alexei Yarashevsky. Well, it's the first oil-related accident in the Gulf of Mexico. Almost exactly 5 years ago, there was a spill at a BP rig. 11 workers died and almost 5 million barrels leaked. A similar catastrophe at a Pemex platform in 1979 led to over 3 million barrels gushing into the sea. We asked Tom Burke, who runs the environmental think tank E3G, what he thinks is the root cause of such accidents.
We've got this accident's happening at a time when the oil price has fallen very steeply and very unexpectedly, and that means that companies everywhere are cutting back on their costs and their investment, and inevitably that increases the risk that something will go wrong. Remember, what happened to BP was in part because there was downward pressure on costs at that time within BP, and it does lead, or it can lead, if you're not extremely careful, to real errors of judgment.
Well, the incident at the Pemex rig has seen a quick reaction on the crude markets. Oil has jumped to almost $50 dollars per barrel, which is the highest in the last 5 days.
Highest in the last 5 days. I don't think we need to really see any more of this, but a fire broke out on oil platform belonging to Mexico State Pemex. Evacuation of about 300 workers. 4 people died and 16 have been injured. Just another last video here on this. There you go. The next article is 4 years of Syrian resistance to a US-led imperialist takeover, from 21st Century Wire. How long will the Washington, Tel Aviv, Riyadh axis continue to lay siege to the nation of Syria? This is an article by Sarah Flounders, Global Research. US efforts to overturn the government of Syria have now extended into a 5th year. It is increasingly clear that thousands of predictions reported in the corporate media by Western politicians, think tanks, diplomats and generals of a quick overturn and easy destruction of Syrian sovereignty have been overly optimistic. Imperialist dreams, but 4 years of sabotage, bombings, assassinations and a mercenary invasion of more than 20,000 fighters recruited from over 60 countries have spread great ruin and loss of life. The US State Department has once again made its arrogant demand that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad must step down. This demand confirms US imperialism's determination to overthrow the elected Syrian government. Washington intends to impose the chaos of feuding mercenaries and fanatical militias, as seen today in Libya and Iraq. A delegation from the International Action Center, headed by former US Attorney General Ramsey Clark, traveled to Syria in late February to present a different message. Visit to hospitals, centers for displaced families, and meetings with religious leaders, community organizations, and government officials conveyed the IAC's determination to resist the orchestrated efforts of US imperialism, acting through its proxies in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, and Israel. The IAC's opportunity to again visit Syria came following its participation in a packed and well-organized meeting of the International Forum for Justice in Palestine. Held in Beirut on February the 22nd and the 23rd, the conference was initiated by Maan Bashir and the Arab International Center for Communications and Solidarity, and again confirmed the centrality of the burning, unresolved issue of Palestine in the region. The Solidarity delegation to Syria included Cynthia McKinney, former 6-term member of the US Congress, Lamont Lilly of the youth organization FIST, Fight Imperialism, Stand Together, Eva Bartlett from the Syrian Solidarity Movement, and Sarah Flounders, IAC co-director. So the delegation travelled the rugged mountainous Blacktop Road from Beirut to Damascus to the Lebanon-Syrian border. On the Syrian side, this road was a modern 6-lane highway, a reminder of Syria's high level of infrastructure development. Even after 4 years of war, this is still a well-maintained highway. Due to sanctions against Syria, hundreds of trucks attempting to do deliveries stretch for miles on both sides of the border. Compared to 2 years ago, when the IAC visited Damascus, this year we didn't hear the constant thud of incoming rockets from mercenary forces shelling the city. These military forces have been pushed back from their encirclement of the capital. Syrian military units, checkpoints, sandbags, blast walls, and concrete blocks were now less pervasive. Markets were full of people and held more produce. A visit to Damascus's largest hospital showed the cumulative impact of 4 years of devastation. at the university hospital where children with amputated limbs received treatments in the ICU. Many children had been brought in maimed from explosives and with shrapnel wounds from mortars and rockets fired on Damascus by terrorist forces. At a visit to a centre for displaced families at a former school, we met with the university students who provide sports, crafts, tutoring and mentoring programs. Medical care, free food and education programs are provided by the centres, but conditions are desperately overcrowded. Each homeless family, often of 6 to 10 people, is allocated a single classroom as housing. Almost half the population has been displaced by the terror tactics of mercenary forces. So, mosaic cultures, a theme in almost every discussion was Syria's heritage as diverse, right mosaic of religious and cultural traditions. Sectarian divisions and intolerance are consciously opposed. One can see the determination to oppose the rule of foreign-funded forces. The visit with Syria's Grand Mufti Ahmed Badr al-Din Asun and Syrian Greek Orthodox Bishop Luka al-Qura reflected the centuries of religious harmony that previously existed in Syria. Mufti Asun stressed the need for reconciliation. He described to the visitors the assassination 3 years ago of his 22-year-old son, Syria, who had never carried a weapon in his life. Syria was gunned down after leaving his university. At the funeral, Mufti Asun declared he forgave the gunmen and called on them to lay down their weapons and rejoin Syria. He described his Greek Orthodox counterpart, Bishop Luka al-Qura, as his cousin and brother. Quite a lengthy article this, so if you do want to read it properly, you can take a look on 21stcenturywire.com. So a few more good points that I wanted to put across here, which were a bit further down. Like you say, that's it. Both religious leaders declared, as did many others in Syria, that the only solution is an international effort to stop the flow of arms. If the American government would like to find a solution for the Syrian crisis, they could go to the Security Council and issue a resolution under Chapter 7 for a total ban of weapons from Turkey to terrorists in Syria. In 1 week, this would be over. And yeah, I want you to read and look into this one, because it has been, 4 years of Syrian resistance, and we're moving into the 5th. Next one is high fail. Afghan opium production rises as ex-Blackwater profits. This is opium production has been on the rise in Afghanistan over recent years, despite the US counter-narcotics efforts. Infamous mercenary film, formerly known as Blackwater, has creamed off $569 million from the Pentagon in this unsuccessful drive.
An American private security firm has received $500 million for a job they failed at. A British newspaper reports that the company formerly known as Blackwater was paid this staggering amount to eradicate drug production in Afghanistan, something that has actually blossomed during the firm's presence there. Our team's Marina Portnaya has the story.
America's longest war didn't end in victory, but it did end on a historic high. According to the United Nations, Afghanistan's opium cultivation and production reached record-breaking levels last year. While Afghan narcotics were growing, the firm, formerly known as Blackwater, remained the top beneficiary. According to the U.S. Inspector General of Afghanistan, the Pentagon paid the infamous mercenary group more than $500 million taxpayer dollars to eradicate Afghan narcotics. Yet the opposite has happened. Afghanistan remains the world's largest source of opium, with 6,400 tons produced last year, a 35-fold increase since 2001.
Who's the ultimate loser? I would say U.S. taxpayers and Afghan people. Who's the ultimate winner? Well, just follow the money. Blackwater, Academy, or ZE, they're getting the biggest contracts, and they're able to bring a lot of revenue into from the operations, where, well, they are really not being kept to any kind of degree of results for their work. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're getting paid no matter what the outcome is. So it's really a win-win situation for them, not for anybody else.
Actually, there's one more winner. Opium production reportedly remains a major source of funding for the Taliban.
The UN estimates that the group generates at least $100 million annually from opium sales. As cultivation grows, so can funding for America's enemies. Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.
And my final article. Did Ringo Starr admit that Paul McCartney died in 1966? Well, this is nothing new for those that have already heard about this. But the former Beatle Ringo Starr has allegedly confessed to playing a part in one of the music's world's biggest cover-ups. It's been believed for years by many that Paul McCartney, one of the four Beatles, died in a car crash in November 1966 and was replaced with William Campbell, the winner of a lookalike competition. The band's last live performance, not including the famous one-off show on Apple Records Rooftop in 1969, was just months before the alleged death of Paul in July 1966. In the article published by World News Daily Report on February 25, 2015, Ringo says, "We felt guilty about the deception. We wanted to tell the world the truth, but we were afraid of the reactions it would provoke. We thought the whole planet was going to hate us for all the lies we had told." According to a report on March the 2nd in the Daily Mirror, however, it stated that the article is a hoax and that the Hollywood Inquirer, allegedly the magazine that hosted the exclusive interview with Starr, doesn't actually exist. The report also says websites that have published this story since are all of the satirical kind. Or could the Mirror article itself be a hoax? In these days of conspiracy theories, spoof stories, satire, and mockumentary, who knows? Here's what World News Daily Report, which upon investigation includes stories that don't always appear to be especially satirical, reported anyway. The former drummer of the Beatles, Ringo Starr, surprised the world this morning during an interview in his luxurious Californian residence, when he admitted that the 45-year-old rumors about the alleged death of Paul McCartney in 1966 were actually true. In an exclusive interview with the Hollywood Inquirer, Mr. Starr explained that the real Paul McCartney had died in a car crash on November 9, 1966, after an argument during a Beatles recording session. To spare the public from grief, the Beatles replaced him with a man named William Shears Campbell, who was the winner of a McCartney lookalike contest and who happened to have the same kind of jovial personality as Paul. When Paul died, we all panicked, claimed Ringo, obviously very emotional. We didn't know what to do, and Brian Epstein, our manager, suggested that we hire Billy Shears as a temporary solution. It was supposed to last only a week or two, but time went by and nobody seemed to notice, so we kept playing along. Billy turned out to be a pretty good musician, and he was able to perform almost better than Paul. The only problem was that he couldn't get along with John at all. William Shears Campbell, better known as Billy Shears, does indeed disappear from records in 1966, and no traces of him can be found after Paul's alleged death. Mr. Starr alleges that the group did send out a lot of hidden messages through the years to prepare the population for the truth. He notably says that the entire Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album was awash with Paul is dead clues. The Beatles had indeed officially formed a new band featuring a fictional member named Billy Shears, which happened to be the actual name of Paul's replacement. We felt guilty about the deception, added Ringo Starr. We wanted to tell the world the truth, but we were afraid of the reactions it would provoke. We thought the whole planet was going to hate us for all the lies we'd told, so we kept lying, but sending subtle clues to relieve our consciousness. When the first rumours finally began out about the whole thing, we felt very nervous and started fighting a lot with each other. At some point, it was too much for John and he decided to leave the band. Ringo Starr claims that he finally decided to tell the truth because he was afraid that it was going to die with him. At age 74, he is the only other surviving member of the famous band besides Paul McCartney, and he was afraid the deception would never be revealed. The rumours of Paul's death began more than 45 years ago, but had always been dismissed as nonsense by the band and its entourage. In September 1969, American college students published a series of articles in which they claimed that clues to McCartney's death could be found among the lyrics and artwork of the Beatles recordings. Clue hunting rapidly proved infectious, and within a few weeks it had become an international phenomenon. Rumours only declined after a contemporary interview with McCartney was published in Life magazine in November 1969. Neither Paul McCartney nor anyone from his entourage have commented Ringo Starr's declaration yet. But the interview has already provoked a lot of reactions around the world. Journalists and paparazzis from around the world have surrounded the residence of the musician only minutes after the interview was broadcasted and are waiting for the star to comment the allegations. The British MI5 also announced an investigation to determine if an imposter could have indeed posed for 48 years as the member of the Order of the British Empire, Sir James Paul McCartney, during official ceremonies involving Queen Elizabeth II. There you go, I'm going to leave you that with a cliffhanger to think about. So, did Ringo Starr admit that Paul McCartney died in 1966? It's up to you to decide. That's all from the Flux. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with someone on the panel. But until then, take care and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.